Okay, again, good morning, everyone. This is Nick Petro at the National Weather Service in Raleigh with your 11:30 briefing for Tropical Depression Florence. It's shortly after 11:30 on September 16, 2018. So the way I'm gonna cover this briefing will be sort of in two sections. The first half will be wind and tornado threat. The second half will address the river flooding issues. So getting underway with the briefing here. You can see we've made some slight changes to the arrows and the threat levels. You can see the wind. We've reduced the threat risk of that. And then the tornado, though, we've kept elevated. So we'll address river and flash flooding in the second half of this briefing. Again, we will see the background winds lessening throughout the day. But one thing we're going to see perhaps even increase in risk is the tornado threat, because there has been, certainly with additional heating that's possible today, the risk for tornadoes will actually be higher than yesterday and the day before. Of course, any wind damage will result in additional power outages. So as of 11 a.m., we now have obviously Tropical Depression Florence. It's no longer a tropical storm. Winds 35 mile per hour max winds. It's west of Columbia, moving north-northwest at 10 miles per hour, finally picking up a little bit of speed. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, the wind is going to diminish during the daytime today. In fact, by evening, we should see the wind drop to maybe even 10 miles an hour or less. It could even go calm in a few spots overnight tonight. But you can see these numbers; they've backed down quite a bit from yesterday. But our main concern in terms of wind is the tornado threat. The sky might be brightening up in a few spots as these bands begin to perhaps decrease in coverage. Wouldn't even be surprised if you briefly see the sun peek through. And any amount of heating or brightening of the sky can result in a little bit warmer conditions than we had yesterday. So any of these shallow supercells, given the additional warmth, could go on and produce these tornadoes, these brief tornadoes. So what I'm saying here is the risk for these tornadoes is a little bit higher today than we had yesterday and the day before. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center has increased the tornado potential outlook for slight from Wilmington to Fayetteville over to Charlotte. So and a marginal risk for the rest of central North Carolina. So anytime you hear a tornado warning, be sure to quickly move it into a interior room on the lowest floor. These tornadoes today will have a better chance of actually occurring than yesterday and the day before. Okay, so we don't want to overlook the tornado risk today. All right, so shifting to flooding and river flooding. So our folks who've been working our hydro desk have already sent these slides out about a half hour ago, so you should have those in your inbox. Life-threatening flooding, river flooding, is either ongoing right now, is already underway, or it will soon. Okay, and that's expected to last into really into the upcoming week. Now, while these rain bands are gradually decreasing in coverage and perhaps even intensity, there are still some heavy downpours occurring. So anywhere those heavy downpours occur, there could still be flash flooding that quickly develops. And that risk will continue even right in, rest of today, Monday, tonight and Monday, I should say. All right. So these maps are meant to show you what parts of central North Carolina have the best chance for river and flash flooding. And the key thing I want to take away here is the area with the greatest risk for both flash flooding and river flooding will be basically from the Triad south to Asheboro to Siler City, to northern Johnson County, maybe over to southern Wilson County, and points south. Generally speaking, south of the Highway 64 corridor, and then including the Triad area will have the best chance. Again, the heavy rain bands could get in up to the I-85 corridor, so we don't want to let our guard down. If you're north of Raleigh and north of the I-85 corridor, you can still see some of this flash flooding and even river flooding. We'll address the rivers here in just a minute. So these maps here show estimates of what has happened so far rainfall wise. The one in the bottom is a storm total rainfall, and this is estimates. We'll be putting out more concrete specific numbers here in the next day or two. but this is a good estimate of 15 to 20 inches, and we're hearing reports of a substantial part of Sampson County underwater, a lot of flooding in southern Wayne, southeast southern Wilson and Harnett and Fayette counties seem to be the areas hardest hit. That's because that's where the heaviest rain has fallen. So you can see the areas, the rainfall is tapered off as you go north. How much additional rain are we expected today? And you can see that's in the upper right. So the heaviest rain amounts are forecast to shift to the western portions of central North Carolina. So from the Triad, folks in Greensboro, Forsyth County, Winston-Salem, High Point, Lexington, you could see 6, maybe 7 or 8 inches of rain going forward through the rest of this event, as well as our friends in down in Wadesboro and Albemarle. You could see up to 8 inches, maybe just shy of even a foot of rain. And then the rain tapers off as you head to the east. The folks with the least risk for additional flooding and least rain will be up across our northeast sections, the northern I-95 corridor, and in between, look for a general 3 to 4 inches of rain. So what has this done to the rivers? On the left, you have observations. On the right, you have forecasts. So right now, the rivers in where we have observation gauges across the Triad over to the Triangle are in good shape. Up to the northern I-95 is in good shape. It's the areas south and east of Raleigh that are experiencing issues right now. Of course, we're already experiencing moderate flooding on the Cape Fear, or minor flooding, I should say, at this point, and on the Little River at Fayetteville, and the Neuse River at Clayton. It jumps to moderate flooding at Smithfield and Goldsboro, southern Sampson County, southern Cumberland County along the Cape Fear, and of course we've been seeing on the news the devastation that's occurring again in Lumberton with major flooding, and that's already underway. That's the current. Now, forecast, you can see the on the right, the purple dots indicate where we expect major flooding, and the red is where we expect moderate flooding. So as that heavy rain shifts west, so too will the river flood threat. So looking at the actual numbers in the timeline, I'm not going to read every one of these, but I want to highlight to you that this set of slides has already been emailed to everybody on our email list. I'm going to post these slides on our website so you can go and review these slides on your own to get a sense of the timing for your particular area of interest. And I will be sending out these slides as well here as shortly after we disconnect here. But starting with the Neuse River, near Clayton, it looks like it's going to go for a double peak there, maybe peaking again in minor flood stage on Monday before it comes down. Now, all that water is going to move downstream. So Smithfield, you've just entered moderate flood stage. It looks like it's going to peak around 19 feet is the forecast before, and that looks like that's going to occur late tonight or Monday morning. And then, of course, it takes a little while to get down to Goldsboro, but major flooding is still forecast at Goldsboro. All right, what about the Cape Fear? So the forecast for Lillington and Fayetteville are still pretty much on track. Looking at near major flooding at Lillington and major flooding. We've had this forecast of 62.3 feet literally for the last 2 days, and it hasn't moved. That's because everything, all the pieces of data that keep coming in, including what has fallen so far and what is expected to additionally fall, has come to pass, or looks like it's on track. So unless we see a major break in the rain, we're going to hold on to that 62.3. If suddenly the rain were to decrease, that 3 to 4 extra inches of rain we're expecting today, if for whatever reason it misses Fayetteville or points upstream, then maybe we will, maybe we'll avoid the 62 feet. But I think suffice it to say, we're expecting a minimum of moderate flooding there, and I think confidence is very high we're going to match what happened with Matthew. And the confidence is still reasonably high that we're going to hit that 62 mark at Fayetteville. Upstream, the Little River at Manchester that feeds into the Cape Fear, you'll notice there's been a little bending. Notice this little bend right here in the hydrograph. It seems like it's kind of starting to turn this way. Don't let that fool you. That may be a very brief bend. And it may, although while it looks like it's bending, it could, it very well turn around and pick up again, especially with additional rain headed into the area. So we're going to hold with that forecast of major flooding at the Little River in Manchester. All right, so let's look at the Yadkin. Let's head west and look at the Yadkin. And again, the heaviest rain is underway, and more's on the way. So we believe once all that rain does get into the basin and begin to flow into the river, that we're going to see a quick rise in the floodwaters there. And look at the Rocky River near Norwood. It is on the way up, and it's headed on up in the major flood as well. All right, some other spots. Black River near Tomahawks, moderate headed to major. We've got the Little River, that's near Princeton, and that seems to be just getting into minor as well. And the PD at the Blewett Falls Lake is on the way up as well. So, just about every river except the rivers up near in the northeast part of central North Carolina. That's the only place it's not seeing river flooding, but everything else, pretty much all of central North Carolina, is going to see river flooding, and most of which will be major river flooding. All right. So anyway, let's wrap this up. Flash flooding and river flooding is the main threat here. We're going to see bands of heavy rain, continue to rotate in and through. Right through Monday. It's kind of going to be hit and miss now, maybe not quite as widespread as we had yesterday or last night, but still lots of bands of heavy rain still left to rotate in, and obviously better coverage across the western portions of central North Carolina than what we've had yesterday and the day before. All right, so these are the things, we still advise folks to just don't go out, don't travel. You don't even think about going out if you live south of Highway 64. I mean, I know, you don't want to end up in a situation where, you're fine on a road 1 minute and then the next minute those floodwaters rise so quick that you're trapped. You know what I mean? The best thing to do is just stay off the roads, and stay home and let all this pass before you resume your routine activities. All right. So with that, we'll do another webinar at 5:30 p.m. today, and new slides also around that same time. Again, these will be posted to our social media channels and any